going to be giving you the prayer book, because remember, we're going to make Kaddish here, but then we're going to make it again at the grave. Okay. Is there anything we can do about the sound? I just am worried about these guys having to hear that.
Oh, I just muted that. It's Zoom.
Great, I just want to make, we won't be hearing it throughout the service though, right?
I just muted.
Great, great, excellent. Okay, thanks a lot. Adonai roi lo echsar bin ot deshear bitseni al mei menuchot nafshi yeshovev yancheni ve'maglet tzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begetzal mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yedifuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai to everyone gathered here in the chapel and to those of you gathered in places near and far. We have come here today, all of us, seeking to find our way through the fog of this awful heartbreak. For heartbreaking is what it is, and there will be no words of poetry or prayer that can make it less than heartbreaking. A number of loving voices will be heard today, but none will be able to offer any reasons why Lynn is no longer here with us, why we have lost that strong and wise and spiritually vibrant presence that we are already missing so deeply. And there are no explanations, no reasons, and certainly nothing fair about our being here without her, or her having to suffer so frequently as she did during the last 7+ years of her uncommonly brave life. And so it will be in the fog of that unfairness that we will say our goodbyes to Lynn and let her loved ones know with this silent chorus of our heart sounds gathered all across the globe that we are with them. To you, Roy, and to Ariel and Aaron and Aaliyah. And to you, Harold and Jeffrey and Julie, who are with us from a distance. To you all, we will bring our very best and commit ourselves and our steadfast support to help you return to the light of day and the business of living without being overpowered by your grief. It is with our eyes trained already on that commitment that we opened this service with words first spoken many centuries ago by the psalmist as he reached for reassurance amid his own struggles with the unknowable mysteries of our living and our dying. From this same kind of moment in his life, he offered us these words now familiar, words of support and confidence. He wrote, "Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever." Even amid the deep sadness that convenes us all here together today, I feel a deep sense of honor to be guiding you, all of you, Lynn's loved ones and her circle of friends, through this admittedly unthinkable day. For it was my honor to have Lynn enter my life and become my congregant very shortly after this battle with illness, this battle to harvest every last nourishing morsel of living, even amid the fear and the pain and the discouragement, right after this fight began more than 7 years ago. And throughout that time, it has been for me, as I know it has been for so many of you. Lynn invited me to help her, and yet I always felt like I was the one coming away with the greater infusion of inspiration. That's because Lynn kept her eye on the ball like almost no one I've ever known. She had spent her entire life cultivating a rock-solid foundation of faith, clarity, which was plenty sturdy enough when suffering came to wrestle with joy, and even when death came to wrestle with life. She knew what she believed and never retreated from the embrace of those beliefs, which held her like a loving parent. This is how Lynn remained so incredibly impenetrable, while we all looked on in astonishment at her courage and her clarity of vision. Our hearts ached right along with hers as the setbacks came and the pain increased. But though her heart would ache, her spirit would be unbroken. She would remain the live for each day woman who so treasured the famous teaching of our ancient sage, Rabbi Hillel, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Each day, if not now, when? She continued to sit at her desk, right next to the artistic rendering created for her by a dear friend of Zionist pioneer Theodor Herzl's famous words, "If you will it, it is no dream." Lynn willed it, day after day after day. And it became no dream. And even when death became imminent, Lynn remained the captain of her own fate, disarmingly unafraid, capable of saying what must be said to her loved ones and to her God. And then, having lived her bold and loving message, which will be far more enduring than her body proved to be, than any body ever is, she was ready to leave that message to us. There are so many words that one might use to describe such a messenger. Heroic, brave, principled, grounded, faithful, grateful. So many words. Our tradition, though, afforded a woman like Lynn the honorific Eshet Chayil, a woman who is valorous. A perfect description, since Lynn was, in fact, chosen as her synagogue's woman of valor some years ago. And since the biblical teaching about the woman of valor hung at close range in her bedroom, a gift from Aliyah that surely described her as well as it guided her. Let us speak those words from the book of Proverbs now and celebrate our good fortune in journeying through our lives with a true woman of uncommon valor and strength. Eshet Chayil mi yimtza, v'rachok mipninim michra. A woman of valor, of fortitude. Who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly. Rabot banot asu chayil ve'at alit al kulana. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you, Eshet Chayil, you, woman of valor, excel them all. These are the words written for our Lynn. Words that will always remind us of her courage and the bright light that she will remain for each and every one of us throughout our lives. We will be blessed today to hear loving words of remembrance from a few of those who knew and cherished Lynn the very most. We're going to hear from them in the following order. First, Lynn's brother Jeffrey is going to be sharing his recollections with us. We're then going to hear from Lynn's beloved friend Diane Goldenring. I'm then going to have the honor of speaking words written for this day by Lynn's daughter Ari. And finally, Lynn's brother Harold will offer us his remembrances.
Who? I know Harold.
Jeffrey, if you're able to go.
Harold. Am I up?
Jeffrey, if you're able to go.
Yep. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I up? Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Yes, go.
Thank you.
Rabbi Ken, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, they can hear you.
Okay, thank you. For my dearest sister, Lynn, my heart goes out to my brother-in-law, Roy, my nieces, Ariel and Aliyah, and my nephew, Aaron. I can't begin to thank my brother, Harold, enough for being such a rock and anchor for our family. Our 99-year-old mother is with us, and without her, we would not be having this conversation. Thank you to all of you who have taken the time out of your day to be here in honor of Lynn. Lynn, Harold, and I, we grew up poor. We were children of Holocaust survivors. Our parents arrived from the ashes of Europe not too many years before we were born, without any financial resources or a safety net to fall back on. At an early age, I think it's fair to say that the three of us realized in so many ways. We soon learned that the most valuable things in life were free. The ability to inquire, to dream dreams, to take a breath that was uninhibited by disease, to take a walk holding someone's hand, not because you needed their support, but out of love. At a young age, we were aware enough to look around and notice that unlike our friends, we had no grandparents, no uncles, aunts, or cousins that we knew of. Our parents spoke with funny accents, often in languages we did not understand. We had no one to rely on except ourselves and each other. As Rabbi Ken mentioned, Lynn understood her history and her Jewish roots deeply. This understanding informed who she was and for sure influenced the decisions she made. It's why she chose to live a life filled with integrity, intention, dignity, and purpose. While not ritualistically religious, Lynn had a strong sense of her Jewishness and connection to community, as the rabbi pointed out. It's not an accident that her three kids, have Hebrew names. Roy, I'm sure, has his version, and we've not talked about it, but Lynn told me years ago that how she named her kids related to the idea that she was a part of a new beginning, and that they were a part of a new beginning, a post-Holocaust beginning. I was always amused that Ariel, Aaron, and Aliyah each start with the first letter of the alphabet. Lynn once conveyed to me this represented her understanding of a new opportunity, a new hope. From what I always knew from Lynn, you, Ariel, Aaron, Aliyah, were more than just the Schneider kids. She loved you deeply, soulfully, always. You were her reason for being. From what I understand, Lynn fought cancer for not 7 or more years, but for 10 or more years. Throughout, I was amazed and moved by the fact that she never expressed any fear. Her sense of purpose seemed to be too powerful. I've been told that once you become fearless, life becomes limitless. This idea seemed to personify our sister Lynn. She knew she was fighting a battle that ultimately would become non-negotiable. She stoically once told me, Jeff, it's not as though I have a common cold or some chronic condition I will learn to live with. She knew she had a disease that would ultimately kill her, and she was willing to talk about it and take it on. I came to understand that so long as Lynn could contribute to the world around her, she was willing to fight in spite of pain and much comfort, which most of you know about. Our Jewish tradition, we have this mystery book. Some call it a history book. It's called the Torah. Every week we read a section or parsha. Each parsha is thought to have a meaning that is designed to inform who we are and how we should live. One of the challenges throughout the ages, and to those of us who pay attention, has been to find contemporary meaning from within this mysterious mystical book. This past week we read the death of Aaron's two sons, not our Aaron, the head Schneider chef, but Aaron, the high priest, the big brother of Moses. There is a question as to why they had to die when they did. Some rabbis say that one interpretation and reason for their passing was that they were overly consumed by ecstasy, that they strived for nothing but godliness. They were taken into heaven because they ignored the work that the soul must do while within a physical existence. These two sons forgot they, like all of us, have been placed on this earth for purpose. It is written in Pirkei Avot, also known as the Ethics of Our Father, a book that is the collective thinking of our sages, that against your will, you live. There seems to be a misconception that as we grow older, we should perhaps become more connected to this idea of a higher power, or for some of us, we call it God, that we should withdraw into spiritualism instead of being engaged in the world around us. Lynn understood her place was in this world and was with purpose, and for as long as she could contribute, she would fight. It is true that the hummingbird or the bumblebee will pollinate the flowers. They cannot sin. Their task and purpose is predetermined by nature. The paradox for humankind is that while we are bound to the laws of nature, we live a life of choices. Lynn chose a life of truth. Her truthfulness was manifested by the depth of her numerous friendships and the love that she had for her family. My kid sister taught me that every moment is a gift and that we should strive to be the best with whatever God-given gifts or circumstances we've been given. And apparently they're not all good. Lynn was a tenacious, determined, strong-willed personality that would tell you to F off in a moment if she thought you deserved it. I know firsthand. Lynn took no prisoners, but she was not a stranger to compassion. I remember when I was asked to be the master of ceremonies for a dinner hosted by UCLA's Center for Students and Scholars. I had to give a speech before almost 800 people. It was the first time I was going to give a speech in front of such a large crowd. I was nervous and thought it would be good to run my speech by someone I could trust and who could help me with critique. I called Lynn. She listened to my speech patiently. After I was done, she asked me, "Jeff, are you done?" I said, "Yes." She then said, "Jeff, it would be helpful if you spoke about something that people might have an interest in hearing. I can help you with this." When I visited Lynn last Monday, I lay on her bed. We held hands. I listened to her as she spoke with Mark and Nancy Yellen. With breathing tubes up her nose and while on oxygen, she strived to engage and elevate the conversation she was having. It was so classically Lynn, but I could see she was tired and laboring. I was relieved when she finished the call. I said to her, "You seem exhausted." She told me she was tired and in pain. She'd gone on as long as she could. I asked her, "Do you have any regrets?" "No," she said. "I'm grateful for all that I've been given." "Do we have any unfinished business between us?" I asked. "No, Jeff. I love you." And then she asked me, "Do we have any unfinished business?" I said, "No, I love you." My beautiful sister Lynn, Rachelle Bat Yittel, you lived your life with determination and purpose. You taught us how to live. You showed us how to die. Thankfully, you are now at peace. And for all this, we should be grateful. Thank you, Rabbi. Thankfully, you are now at peace.
Some people come into our lives and they pass through leaving no discernible mark. A few come into our lives and change who we are for having known them. Lynn was such a person. Lynn Schneider was loving, whether as a daughter, sister, mother, wife. She was loving, and she was a good friend. She inspired all of us with the way she lived and the way she died. In her relationships, she brought her truth and strength. She left us too soon. She really left us too soon. There was so much more each of us wanted to share with her, do with her. She put up such a valiant fight because being with each of us is what mattered most to her. Lynn's cancer took her away from us bit by bit. It was slow and painful, and it caused suffering for everyone. Though she rallied many times, really, she knew, and we all did, that each time she fought back, a bit more of her was taken out. A loss of strength, the pain increased, some steps closer to this day. She knew that. We all did, even though we didn't say it. Was this the last time she went to a special place? The last time she picked up her knitting needles? The last time she took a hike? So many last times. The last time finally came, as we all knew it would. She pushed back. She fought the pain. She did not want to leave us. Finally, though, she was tired and was ready to surrender. As terrible as her cancer was, as much as we all hated it, it was also a gift. It granted time. Time to have the chance to sit and talk. Time to hold hands. Time to tell her how special she was and how much she meant to each of us. That made the time she and we were given all the more poignant and special. Lynn was tough. She fought her illness with determination, tenacity, and sheer willpower. That she did that is not surprising because that is who she was and how she lived her life. Every single day for all of her years. That is how she built the life she wanted. Lynn's roots were deep in her Jewishness. She knew her God. She drew strength from that foundation and the tradition of growing up in an Orthodox family. Raised very traditionally, she never imagined she would have the chance to pass the Torah to her son. When it came time for Aaron's bar mitzvah, it was important for her to stand before her friends and family and hold that Torah, pass it on to Aaron, because that's who she was. Growing up, she also never imagined that she would have the chance to chant Torah on the bima, but she did. And her father later told her that he was so proud of her. She was courageous and determined to live her life, her Jewish life, on her terms. She was clear about what mattered to her, and in that clarity, She strove to give her children a model on how to live. And in doing so, she impacted all of us with that blessing. Living life to the fullest really mattered to Lynn. She did her very best to experience as much of the wonders and beauty in the world as possible. She marveled at the mountains, the oceans, living creatures all around. She found joy in being surrounded by life in all its various forms. She found joy and wonder in simple things, discovering something new, realizing a new idea. Her exclamation, "Oh, wow," was really true and honest. She wasn't limited to the physical world around her. Connections with people were important to Lynn. Sometimes it was a passing event, like running into someone at Costco. And then she was there, emotionally available in that moment. Sometimes it was deeper and her opening her heart and became vulnerable. All of it, the joy and sadness, the love and longing, the fullness of life, all of this was part of her, and she cared deeply. Lynn wasn't perfect. None of us are. There were times when her determination overcame her better judgment. She knew that and acknowledged it. She even laughed at herself, recognizing that what she had done sometimes wasn't the wisest choice. Really, isn't that true for all of us? In retrospect, she could look at herself honestly, clear-eyed, and try to learn as best as she could. Lynn was an amazing friend. While she was great fun to be with, as she was always up for an adventure, she was really there for her friends. Not always in big, obvious ways, although she did that too, but in the simple way she listened with her full attention. If she was talking to you, she was fully present and completely honest in the kindest of ways. You knew that she cared deeply and that you mattered. To her 3 A's, Ari, Aaron, and Aaliyah, you 3 were her greatest joy. She loved the 3 of you fully and completely. The 3 of you are really good human beings, in large part because of the good values and unconditional love she gave you. You know, she would do anything for you, even to a fault, because she wanted you to be happy and she wanted your lives to be good. Over the past years when she has been so sick, you have always been there for her, to help her in any way you could, and she came to depend on each of you. It's not easy to care for a parent when roles are reversed, but all 3 of you did it with grace, kindness, and love. And to Roy, her soulmate, you were her life, her greatest love. Though you were gone a lot because of your calling in life, your work, she accepted that as part of loving you. The love story of your 38 years with Lynn is precious and rare. She told me at the end that the life she had built with you was the life she had wanted, and she had no regrets. It's a blessing that she said that. It's a blessing that the 2 of you had that, and you always will. Now our relationship with Lynn has changed. For each of us in our hearts, she is there in her special way. Our grief and pain will lessen over time, and I know it will be replaced with deep longing and missing. For me, that special place in my heart that belongs just to Lynn will always remain. In that missing, I will remember her courageousness, her determination to live life on her terms, the meaning and goodness she brought to this world. and from that draw strength and learning as the years pass. I will deeply miss her friendship, but I feel so honored that she let me into her heart, allowing me to share her deepest and most honest feelings. Lynn told me she was at peace, and I know she wants that for each of us as we grieve for her. Lynn's physical body is no longer here, but her spirit, the light of her beautiful soul, is still here. It lives in each of us through our undying love for her and her love for each of us. Thank you.
These words were written for this day by Ari in memory of her mom. At her core, my mom was a mom. First and foremost, she was a mom to us.
I am broadcasting from my mother's house. The house that Lynn...
She was happy when her kids were happy. Time. Yep.
I recently had the lenses replaced with my current prescription. I'm stationed in Lynn's childhood bedroom. The bed has changed, but the rest is frozen in time. Our mother, Julie, 99 years old, is fully teched out and downstairs in her room participating on her own computer. My father died just after Shabbos, minutes after my brother Jeffrey had called to speak with him. I was holding hands with him when he died. I can see the moment with my eyes closed, as if it happened yesterday. The next Shabbos, our first time in shul after Shiva, Gail saw a pair of adult bald eagles out the window of the kollel in Vancouver, where we daven. We had never seen this before and have not seen it since. They flew so close, she could see their bright yellow, gold talons and beak. Coast First Nations in BC, where we live, say, when an eagle visits, it is our ancestors that have come to bless the gathering. It seemed something my dad might do. I could feel my dad's presence around me for about 6 months after he died. Minutes after Lynn died on Sunday morning, a black-capped chickadee flew into our covered patio. No easy task, because the deck is surrounded by a trellis and a covered glass sloped roof. There's no wide open space for the bird to get in and out. The chickadee lighted on the ledge at the exact moment that Gail and I were standing right on the other side of the window. It seemed it came to us, looked right at us for a long period of time, and came specifically to visit with us. Gail learned that a chickadee is symbolic of a cheerful nature, social behavior, courage, positivity, and flexibility. It means that you are surrounded by people who will love you. An apt visitation, perhaps an elevation, and a celebration of our beloved Lynn, who is free at last. When my father was 80, he started saying, "I want to live until I'm 90. My father, Oliver Sholem, lived until he was 90. It's almost as if he had the whole thing orchestrated, and it went exactly to plan. He lived a good life. While there is sadness in his passing, because it's always hard to lose someone you love, with Lynn, the sadness we feel today is exponential. Lynn was a life taken way too soon. Now I want to talk about Lynn in relation to this past week's Parsha. Last Shabbat, we read the double Parsha of Acharei, Mot, and Kedoshim. I'm going to speak about Lynn and Kedoshim, be holy. The idea of holiness manifests in many ways. In its most traditional sense, the idea of performance of the mitzvot is about holiness. But spirituality in general sense and being connected to God is also a manifestation of this kedoshim, of this holiness. The term that the Torah uses is kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy. It's a reference to a future state. It doesn't say be holy, it says you shall be holy, as though it's something that is in the distant future or in the future. One of the commentaries explains this particular approach to say, the reason the Torah expresses this way is because it's a lifelong yearning and process. There's no finish line when it comes to our spirituality. There's no getting to a certain point and saying, we made it. We made it. Now we are all holy. We can kick back and have a beer. Every day is about striving to be a little more than we were yesterday. Today, I strive to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. And tomorrow, I want to be a better version of myself than I was today. And we do that by continuing to strive to be better, to improve, to grow, to connect. Lynn was the epitome of striving to be better, to grow, to learn, to be spiritual. She did this in every aspect of her life, her family, her friends, her community. She didn't stop right up to the last day. On Thursday before she died, Rabbi Ken Chasen conducted a vidui prayer, a forgiveness service, so she could properly prepare for the world to come. The Parsha continues to list a myriad of seemingly unrelated mitzvot, 51 in total. There are in the range of 60 parshiot in the Torah, and between them, there are 613 mitzvot. If you average out the 613 mitzvot over the parshiot, you would expect that if they were evenly distributed to be between 10 and 12 per parsha. You will see that Parsha Kedoshim with 51 is pretty heavily stacked with laws. But they are an entire range of laws, including honoring your parents, treating a stranger properly, honoring the elderly, standing in the presence of a stage, having honest weights and measures. It's an eclectic mix of things. You would expect it to be, oh, you should be holy. Holiness must be something like sitting on a mountaintop and meditating and connecting with God and serving in the Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple. The Torah tells us no. Spirituality is to be found in every aspect of our life, in every area of our life. If you are volunteering for a synagogue, that is being Kodesh. That is being holy. If you're helping a school so children can have a Jewish education, that is fulfillment of the concept of the requirement to be holy, to improve ourselves, to better ourselves, to bring ourselves closer in our relationship with God. And it's for that reason there are so many kinds of mitzvot that are mentioned under the umbrella of you shall be holy. Being holy, being a spiritual person, is an accumulation of very small actions. It's not about the grand actions. It's about an accumulation of small actions. Lynn was a master at these many kinds of mitzvot, from honesty to synagogue, to school, to strangers, to the people she helped. You could count on Lynn, and everyone knew it. she lived Kodesh. In next Shabbat's Parsha, Emor, the Torah once again talks about holiness. Here in reference to the special status of Aaron, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and his sons. Here the Torah says, Kadashim Yehiyu Lilokechem, and you shall be holy to your God. We should never measure our holiness against other people. Oh, look at so-and-so. He's volunteering for the shul. I better volunteer for the shul. Or to say, I've done so much and lord it over other people. And we measure our advancement in our spirituality only against God. Not because we want it to bring us honor, not because we want it to bring us glory, not because we want people to talk about how great we are. That's not the reason to do the right thing. We do the right thing because it's the right thing. It's our acts of charity and piety that are orchestrated. If your acts of charity and piety, are orchestrated to impress those around you or to one-up your fellow, this is not the holiness that Hashem seeks. The mitzvah must be performed for the sake of mitzvah and to bring benefit and joy to others. Taken together, we have a clear path to follow. Our mission in this world is to strive every day to become a better version of ourselves, to pay attention to the needs of others as greatness is found in the smallest details. This path of holiness and fulfillment that leads us to the world, this is the path of holiness and fulfillment that leads us to the world to come. This is the path that Lynn took, and all that know her know this. Thank you, Rabbi.
These are words written by Lynn's daughter Ari to speak of her mom today. She wrote, "At her core, my mom was a mom. First and foremost, she was a mom to us, Aaron, Aliyah, and me. She was happy when her kids were happy. She was also a second mom to so many other people. We don't even know how many. It's been meaningful to hear these stories over the past few days, and we always welcome more. This morning, I want to share what I'll carry with me. No matter what, we were taught that family comes first. I have so much gratitude for the closeness I feel with my siblings, which is in large part due to that value she instilled in us. Mom had a very specific vision of home that she created over and over again for me and my siblings, both in our house in Ventura and wherever else we lived. It always included warm, fluffy bedding, thoughtful trinkets, and an understanding that everyone was welcome. She regularly mailed us handwritten cards, often purchased at Trader Joe's, that sometimes said a lot and other times just expressed her love. This was so integral to the way that she communicated that I even received them since living as close as Santa Barbara. Mom was a fierce advocate. She got shit done. I learned so much about how to be a good social worker from her. Even though I don't think she would ever use that word to describe herself, she embodied the ethos of the field that I ultimately chose. She was always connecting people and making sure that they had what they needed, building community and speaking up for those who didn't have a voice. Mom loved the outdoors. She told me once that her slogan for parenting was to raise your kids outside. Many of our happy family memories took place in the eastern Sierras on Dad's adventurous hikes, kayaking in the lakes, cooking meals together, and chasing thunderstorms. She also shared with me her love of skiing. Even when she couldn't go, she wanted to hear all about the snow conditions and my favorite runs. Mom was endlessly generous. She gave her time, her feedback, her love, her things. I'm sure many of you have some piece of clothing, jewelry, or items in your home that she gave you. Please keep using those things and think of her. Let them be a reminder to embody her spirit, to love deeply and give freely. With all of these beautiful and loving words that we've heard, we have so much to hold on to. And so I want to invite everybody right now, those here in presence and those gathered in your homes from far away, for all of us to just take a few silent moments now to sit with all of these beautiful recollections that we've heard, to allow them to mingle with our own memories as we spend this time in quiet remembrance of Lynn.
Got out of town on a boat going to Southern Islands, sailing a reach before a following sea. She was making for the trades on the outside, and the downhill run to Papatee. Off the wind on this headline, the Marquesas. We got 80 feet of the waterline, nicely making way. Noisy bar in Avalon, I tried to call you, but on a midnight watch I realized why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I have fallen. Spirits are using me, larger voices calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world looking for that woman, girl, who knows love can endure, and you know it will. When you see the Southern Cross for the first time, you understand now why you came this way. 'Cause the truth you might be running from is so small that it's as big as the promise of a coming day. So I'm sailing for tomorrow, my dreams are dying, and my love is an anchor tied to you, tied with a silver chain. I have my ship and her flags are flying. She's all that I have left, and music is her name. Think about how many times I have fallen. Spirits are using me, larger voices calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. hidden from is so small, but it's as big as the promise of a coming day in the Southern Cross. In the Southern Cross.
That beautiful music that you just heard is a gift on this day from Lynn's brother-in-law Jay and his wife Gina and daughter Chloe, and the producer of that beautiful track is their son Brandon. Song identifies a lot of beautiful places that Lynn had the gift of traveling to, and we've heard today, of course, about how much the beauty of the outdoors illuminated her own spirit, and now ours as well, with the opportunity to linger in the beauty of that song. As we prepare to conclude the service together, first with the memorial prayer, Amalei Rachamim, and then Kaddish, I want to just share this brief these words of poetry written by the poet Merit Malloy, entitled Epitaph. Words, I think, that speak to what Lynn says to us on this day. When I die, give what's left of me away to children. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies. For love doesn't die. People do. And so when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Seeking now the strength that we need to give Lynn away, just as generously as she did throughout her life. Let us see her safe embrace in God's compassionate presence as we share the words of our memorial prayer, Amalei Rachamim. If you're able to stand, I invite you to do so at this time. Hail Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, Im Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezohar Arakia, Mazhiri, Et Nishmat Rachel Leah Bat Yetel V'Yecheskel Shalacha Leolama Baal Harachamim Harachamim Yastireha B'Sete Knafav Leolamim B'Yitzror Chaim et Nishmata Adonai ונחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר אמן. Amalei Rachamim, compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Lynn Schneider, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest peacefully. And let us together say, Amen. We'll join now together for the very first time in speaking the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, in Lynn's memory. Those of you who are here in the chapel, you can find the words inside the prayer booklet that you've received. With deep gratitude for the gift of her life, for our opportunity to have shared in it, and for the extraordinary gift of memory, which grants Lynn immortality as we carry forward her legacy and write the next chapters that she lived to implant within us. We join together in these words. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי קודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. The giver of peace send peace to you in this time of mourning, comfort to each one of us as we always continue to remember and cherish. And let us together say, Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Chasen. This will conclude our chapel portion of our services, and we will now depart for the interment site at the Ivy Lawn Cemetery. On behalf of Lynn's family, thank you for your prayers and participation with them here today. If we could now stand as we have the casket leave the chapel. Please stand.